Welcome to the weekly upload. Again, apologies that we are not live this week, but I am still Sam.
And I'm still Kevin.
And we are excited to be here.
Yeah, we haven't changed. Don't worry.
We haven't changed, all right? Look, I know we said a lot of things, but we're glad that you're back. We're glad that you're watching the weekly upload happening every Wednesday. We're going to run down some tech news for you today on Twitch about the YouTube Kids app.
Yeah.
And also on Esports, we're going to be covering a story about a new varsity collegiate team, like a scholarship-based program that just got started in the United States. And for our final fun thing at the end of the episode, we're also going to be talking about the top 50 watch channels. TubeFilter does a list every week, so we thought it'd be fun to kind of go through some of those results and break some of those things down. But first off, I want to encourage you, if you're watching this too, please share this video around. Please, let people know that you're enjoying the information download that we're giving you. I mean, Kevin, we have pretty good chemistry.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't people want to watch
Amazing
this?
chemistry.
Exactly.
We'll bring roses next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, roses and chocolates, man.
Oh, man.
It's got to be like our anniversary coming up now of this doing weekly uploads.
We got to bring like
it's
some.
getting there.
Yeah. It's getting up there. It's very personal. So let's continue the romance today. Kevin, what is our lead story?
Okay. Our lead story today is Twitch affiliate program is now live. Expands monetization 1,000 more streamers. And this is coming from tubefilter.com. Their new affiliate program is officially launched, which creators who are not eligible for the platform's partner program will be able to reap the benefits. To qualify, streamers must have a broadcast of at least 500 total minutes over the past 30 days, with at least 7 unique broadcast days over the period, and individual streams must have an average of at least 3 concurrent viewers, and a channel total follower count it must exceed 50.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's like subscriber level 50.
Yeah.
You got to have at least 3 people watching you to be legit. Some of these requirements remind me of the new way that YouTube is going to be doing all that they're checking for new affiliates. Also, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kev, but wasn't like the Twitch partner program sort of notoriously hard to get into?
Yeah, it was very hard to get into. It was even hard to keep up with because a lot of times with Twitch streamers, you have to have like 500 concurrent viewers in a week. Like you have to constantly be streaming a week and doing stuff. It's a lot of check, and they can kind of kick you off anytime you want in that regard. But this one's a lot easier from what I've been reading about, just because it opens up the doors for a lot of people who always wanted to get to try to stream, but just didn't know if they, had too much of the time or anything to do that.
Yeah. And when they say 7 unique broadcast days, I'm assuming they mean like you have to, it's like if you're doing it twice a week, then you have to at least do it for 3 weeks, over 3 weeks like that within the 30-day period. So, I mean, I know for a fact that there are some Twitch streamers that when they feel like they need to go like super pro, that they are doing it multiple days in a row. They're really like making that push.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice to see, because it's like they're trying to just open up the doors for more people who are a fan of streamers who wanted to also be streamers themselves. They get in on a program because their partner program is really cool, but it's also really, really difficult to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to not only when you're into it, like it's difficult to maintain.
Well, that's actually a really good point, is that the maintaining the presence. I recently saw on Dorkly, I think they did a comic that was about the difference between a YouTuber. It was very funny. Like, it's the difference between a YouTuber and the difference between a Twitch streamer. And essentially, YouTubers will just, like, yell at the camera and, like, yell at their audience, like, whoa, check this out, isn't this so crazy? And then, like, the Twitch streamer is like, hey, guys, it's me. We're going to be doing some Hearthstone. And if you want to check in for about the next 5 hours, I don't know, I'm just going to be playing some Hearthstone.
That's accurate.
Right?
That's very accurate.
And then they show their audience, and like YouTuber's audience, like a kid with a tablet, and then it's like Twitch audience, it's like a professional working at their laptop while having another laptop open with a Twitch stream
with bad overlays everywhere.
Right, exactly. And it's like, oh, I gotta unclick all this stuff. I'm interested to hear about, even though I know we're not doing this particular video live, I am interested to hear comments about people that you follow. Do you have a Twitch streamer that you kind of follow more religiously than others?
The only one
And are they pro?
Maximilian Dude,
Yes.
part of the fighting game community. He's the one who I see who consistently streams a lot. He has a lot of sponsors. He does a lot even with his friends. He even has another separate stream with his friends where they play older games or just wrestling games and things like that, which is awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. The other thing I want to comment on this is kind of a big lead story, top story, is the speculation on creator drift. As we know, YouTube is going through changes, changes. David Bowie, rest in peace. But is this the way that Twitch tries to get more people to come over to their platform? Because the timing on this announcement is not by chance. Even if they were, because they had to have been working on this behind the scenes. We reported a couple weeks ago about the game buying program that, people that want to buy a specific game that they see being streamed, they can just click a button, they can get it, and the streamer gets a percentage. Mm-hmm. This is even more explicit. This is about getting some of that ad revenue or getting those likes, with hitting the buttons, giving them kudos, all that. Yeah,
I can see something like that happening because they also did that Twitch IRL, the in real life thing, a couple months back where they not only want people to play games or live stream just regular stuff on Twitch. Well, yeah, they're live streaming regular stuff on Twitch, even their day-to-day stuff, like people going to the grocery store. Twitch wants people to live stream that kind of stuff.
Start doing like more lifestyle-based content that like live streaming would be attuned to. Mm. It's like, hey, maybe don't do like a fully scripted video. Like, this is your chance to do something a little bit more, personal and non-scripted and just direct with your audience. Yeah. It's really like, Twitch streamers already were vloggers in a certain way, right? Like, depending on what they talked about during playing StarCraft or Overwatch or whatever. But now I think they're even trying to push it even more, where maybe you also see streamers that have one stream where they do this, maybe they have another stream that's just like lifestyle-related stuff, I know it's already a lot of work. It is a lot of work to do streaming, but who knows? You also tipped me off to a program that I had no clue about, and maybe you guys would be really interested in hearing about this. A way to stream to like multiple platforms.
Yeah. So the program was called Restream. Restream, and basically it's some API toolkit where you're able to pretty much stream to any program, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Hitbox or Facebook Live or some of the other ones.
What's Hitboxer?
Hitbox is it's a more independent one.
Okay.
Is
that niche? Like,
yeah.
It's a Hitbox. Let me guess. Is it about fighting games?
Somewhat, but most people just if someone like wasn't on Twitch or they wanted to leave Twitch for whatever reason, they usually went to Hitbox next. Huh. So Hitbox was always like sort of second to Twitch, but it was still more of an alternative because they had a little bit more freedom on what you can kind of do and put up.
It's like the Daily Motion to YouTube. Yeah. It's like, if you can't really do it there, well, then maybe you can do it there.
Yeah. So, but Restream, they gave other streamers like the option to pretty much stream multiple things at the same time if your bit rate and stuff can handle that kind of thing.
So there is kind of a higher technical requirement in terms of your connection speed, but you can essentially stream to both YouTube and Twitch simultaneously.
Exactly.
Wow. That's kind of interesting. Like, I feel like, why wouldn't you, go for the largest audience possible?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are curious about that technology, that's a really cool tip. Check out Restream. And, let us know what your experience is like with the software. That was a lot of time on our lead story, Kev, but I think we got to think about another group. Why isn't anybody thinking of the children? Please, when we think of the children.
Oh, man. Yeah, and that was a great segue into our next our next story.
Yeah.
YouTube Kids comes to smart TVs, and this is coming from TechCrunch.com. YouTube Kids is now natively available on the big screen for the first time. YouTube Kids will now be offered on a range of smart TVs, including those from LG, Samsung, and Sony. And they also reported that the app today sees more than 8 million weekly active users and has a stream of more than 30 billion views.
Wow. Okay. So obviously the YouTube Kids app is really working for them.
Yeah.
You know, this has been something that I know that they've been very high on, because kids content, toy unboxing, these playtime videos, Kinder eggs, even of course educational songs, stuff like that have been huge. And you're going to see that at the end of this episode when we start talking about the top 50 list. It's going to blow your mind. But this is obviously a higher adoption rate in my theory because it's free.
Yeah.
You know, like the YouTube Kids app is all about YouTube diversifying its services. I'd be curious to hear about how the YouTube Music app is doing, because of course, like Google Play, which is their music-based Spotify interim, which I use a lot since I started subscribing to YouTube Red. That's been really awesome. But you have some kids in your family. I mean, are they using the Kids app at all? Are we curating things properly on YouTube? You got to mind what the children watch.
Yeah, we still do some curation at home, but for the most part, it's been pretty successful. Now that we recently got a smart TV in the house, a Samsung. So the kids, whenever we babysit or want to watch like a cartoon, or they would want to watch Phineas and Ferb or something like that.
And this is a personal story related to that, but like the amount of difficulty with some type of smart TVs, like if you don't just have a Chromecast or some kind of Apple TV set up, you know, something where it's like the stuff's already built in, or you have like a game system hooked up that you can immediately like bop over to your Netflix or your YouTube account there. It's oddly difficult to like hook something up if it's just the internal stuff in a smart TV. It just reminds me of like you have to balance between 2 or 3 different remotes to like try and get to the right input, and then it's like then they try to make it easy by like, and then here's a smaller remote that's just for YouTube. Or it's like, okay, like just Bluetooth to my phone. Like I can just let me send stuff from my phone. You know, I just think I'm a big Chromecast supporter.
Okay.
So, but this YouTube Kids app internally on the smartphone, smart TVs, is specifically, I think, for parents that are like, I don't want to think about anything because I'm already giving my phone over to my kid. I'm already giving them my tablet. I don't need to sync up and loop in, and I don't want to even think about it. Just put it on the dang TV. So that's for you parents. I'm looking out for you. And then this is a really, really interesting story. This is Rising Stars, all-women Stephen College from my home state of Missouri. They break ground with the varsity esports program. This is actually out of ESPN. And if you get a chance to, it's a really in-depth article about esports in general, the way that the NCAA is not necessarily involved in the way that esports is run yet, and how, you know, different programs are setting up these scholarships. I think because it's an attractive idea, like, oh, I can get an education and then also earn a esports scholarship, you know, like I'm playing games already. This is just a way I can help fund my education. And I think it's a smart move in educational organizations to recognize, like, hey, this is a profession now. Like, people can put some time in, they can actually make money, they can make their living doing this. One question that I had was, and I'll get into the details in a moment, but something to think about is, you know, the types of majors that would do this as a collegiate program. Like, are these... so just to get into the story itself, Missouri Stephen College is the first all-women's college to offer a competitive Overwatch gaming scholarship to prospective students. The college hopes to create a 12-person team, 6-woman team, 6-woman bench, before TESPA's Overwatch tournament, which last year drew over 220 teams and a prize pool of $100,000. So obviously the numbers are going up in terms of participation and in prize money. I also, in the article, they talk about there are 30 scholarship-based programs for Overwatch stuff, or esports in general, but this is the first varsity team set up, so this is like an official, we're doing this all the way. And a lot of the article, too, deals with females in gaming and realizing that there is a component of that community that has been aggressively like anti-women, you know, like anti, like, or afraid of them getting involved. And I you know, let's just repeat what we said on this show before. That kind of toxicity like has no place online. Yeah. You know, it's like it can include everybody here. You know. Exactly. But what do you think about the varsity team setup? This is kind of like weeks and weeks ago we discussed some of these things.
Honestly, I completely love the idea that they're doing this. It's really cool because then you can see some new talent and new female talent also in a growing sport like esport like Overwatch, which is already a very diverse game with a diverse cast.
That's true, yeah.
So it's really cool to see just the new type of blood that's going to come in and see the competition that sort of rises out of this. And it might be really, really competitive from what I see, because you have a whole bunch of new talent that are trying to prove themselves already.
Yeah, you when you look at like documentaries or other videos about the esports scene and the way that the teams have to, like, they live together, they eat together, they train together, like there is an intensive amount of like strategy and time and like physical fatigue that does come into being like a pro level gamer, because you are constantly thinking and using everything, you know. So maintaining your well-being and, having to sit down for so much of it, that's why I see people alternate between standing and sitting and, like all this stuff. Also, just thinking about the way those competitive spaces are set up and how they have to engender, cooperation between team members, that women that might not even be used to an environment in which like this is all female, suddenly I'm surrounded by my peers, I'm surrounded by other gamers that know my experience, that know like what it feels like to either be accepted or not accepted, and so they can bond over that. There's a way, I think, to create a real sense of focus and power and engagement with that. It's like when you get these people that are united in a common cause, and part of the article too talks about that the instructor's hope is that if it fulfills the mission of the college, so many programs collegiately are about maintaining like the culture of the campus, so this is just another element of that, esports as being a way of saying this is our statement about how we view women and getting involved and standing up for themselves and making sure that there's a place at the table. And I think it's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they perform, and I'll be following that story. So anyway, Kevin, our last, was there any other comments that you had on that? No. Oh, the NCAA getting involved. Do you think the NCAA will get involved?
Oh, of course. Yeah, esports is always
at some point.
Yeah, I would think so, because esports is growing and it's such a big thing now, where it's literally, there's no way it's gonna happen. It's more of a not a if thing, but more of a when thing. Like, it's a matter of time.
Yeah. I think also the NCAA just I follow a lot of those college sports stories about like regulations and sponsorships and paid versus unpaid, and I know that that's a whole hot button topic, but I just think that the NCAA, it's like where there's money, they're gonna want to think about it, especially if you start thinking about the way that they've cultivated this culture of esports in, South Korea being the biggest example of like massive stadiums, sellout crowds to see these events. You can imagine that in a more collegiate setting where these teams are playing against one another or training or whatever, that like, okay, it's time to start charging tickets, to have like, okay, Stevens College up against Occidental or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to start seeing those things happen, and the moment that ticket prices and merchandise come into the equation, I think you'll see the NCAA step in. So hopefully they can maintain their integrity on that. All right, enough politicizing. It's time to get into the nitty-gritty, Kevin. This is the Tube Filter Top 50 Most Viewed Channels. And we have a few things that will probably not surprise you. I'm just going to run down. But Ryan Toy's review held on to its first place position for an unbelievable 34th week. This is, this is the first time I've heard of this channel, but it has 174 million views that they made this week. That's up 13%. So, you think about like how many, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bore you.
No.
This, but they are making bank. And this close second place, not surprisingly to me, is the WWE. They put up pretty much all the major clips from their shows, and they upload, I think, like 18. I feel like they upload like 18 videos a day, because they're just uploading clips of their daily output. They have live. They have 5 different live programs they put on like every single week. Like whether it's through their network service or whether it's on broadcast. So they had 166 million views.
That's a lot.
And we touch on what kind of content is getting monetized still, or things that are going through transition. I would just find it surprising that, WWE, they wouldn't look at that and go, gotta make sure that we're monetizing that, right? And then number 3 spot is Toy Scouters. So you see toys, wrestling, and then toys. Adults dressing up in Disney and superhero costume phenomena was up 8% to amass more than 139 million views throughout the week. And then 4th place, Luis Fonsi, who I've heard of, is a Puerto Rican singer, songwriter, and actor, jumped up 50% to top out at 139 million views. And rounding out the top 5 is the band Chainsmokers. Their channel, was down 6% to bottom out at 107 million views. Terrible performance. So those are our top guys. I mean, music. 2 of the channels are music, 2 are toys, 1 WWE. I'm honestly, as a wrestling fan, I'm not too surprised, but at the same time, I think people would be a little bit surprised that they rank so high.
Yeah. No, wrestling's popular.
Yeah.
Like that wrestling. Oh man, it's just so many. I always go back to looking at certain like moments in wrestling. It's always notable. Mm-hmm. Even just having like old games like No Mercy and SmackDown versus Raw. Those were always fun. I even have friends where we would go and just sort of have the computers play and just sort of see what person will beat what person in the era in the game and just see what happens. Like, wrestling is such a mainstay and such a staple.
It's a lot of nostalgia, and they are always aggressively going after that younger audience, and they're very socially minded. They've been that way for a long time, so I just think their approach bleeds well into YouTube. I just and I wonder, I guess because they have their own, network service, that the idea being, if you want to get into more of the original content, they're not exactly putting it on YouTube. They're just breaking down clips and keeping people interested. All their Facebook videos that they put on there, I mean, they always have just the blurb at the bottom, like, subscribe to the WWE Network, and try and jump on. So their whole strategy, I think, is really, really smart, especially considering that if you were to watch the program live, it's a 3-hour broadcast. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm broadening it so that it's larger lessons and takeaways. But, like, think about it in terms of, you're a traditional broadcaster, you get a 3-hour broadcast, every single day they're breaking it down into the top 10 moments, most impactful. And then they also, like, crib out 3 to 4 minute segments of, like, this was a promo wrestler cut, this was a match. You're not seeing the whole thing, but you're seeing enough in, like, the finish. Yeah. So it's like, okay, like, this is maybe the way that most fans probably encounter WWE. And you think about the millions of views that they get there. They have, at least over 1.5 million active network subscribers worldwide now. So anyway, this is now turned into the WWE podcast. Thank you for joining us. So top gainers, however, speaking of traditional broadcast, goes to Saturday Night Live. The flagship late-night sketch comedy show rose 46% week-over-week increase in views for more than 53 million views on the week, and the number 25 spot in the U.S. chart. I only watch SNL now through clips, and I think the same thing is for late night, and I think the same thing is for, like, Colbert or any of the other comedians, Seth Meyers, or Jimmy Fallon especially.
Yeah, same. When looking for content on, like, Showcase, for Showcase comedy, I see a lot more of those clips coming from, like, Seth Meyers or Jimmy Fallon or SNL or just things like that, where they get a lot of their show stuff, but they produce, like, small clips. Like, they make some small clips and put them on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. And I always see that they get shared a lot, too, because those clips are usually people are agreeing and they're commenting on it. It's very active when they put up those clips.
I just think it's so smart because, I don't know a lot of my friends that and I know we talked about YouTube TV and trying to get people back into, like, watching at certain times, and then we do what's it called? The group viewing thing.
Oh, Uptime.
Uptime, yeah. So we talk about Uptime. Group viewing, but, like, this is really interesting to look at, that traditional shows can have, like, a second life, like that the majority of the way that a modern audience would interact with them is going to be through these clips, is going to be through more digestible things, easily shareable things, and name recognition is name recognition. I mean, HBO has talked about constantly how they were proud that Game of Thrones was the most like pirated show on the Pirate Bay, you know, and all these factors. Because I think even when you think about HBO and like John Oliver, he posts like major like whole monologues from his show on YouTube and on Facebook because HBO recognizes the power in just getting exposure, you know. If that's getting shared, if that's getting exposure, you're reminded again, HBO. And at a certain point, you're like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, I watch enough of it, might as well get it.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's all about exposure, you know what I mean? Do you watch a lot of the late night stuff? I mean...
I watch some Seth Meyers, and I used to watch a lot of, who was the Scottish guy? Something Ferguson.
Oh, yeah, Craig Ferguson.
Yeah, Craig Ferguson. Yeah, I'm not sure if he still has his show. I know he hosts another show now, but I think it's a game show now more than anything.
I'm going to search for this really quick.
And I watch some Jimmy Kimmel. A lot of Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, but those are usually the talk show hosts. And John Oliver. I really like his long monologues, especially the political ones, but we don't need to go too into those ones. But,
Craig Ferguson's no longer, the late show is no longer on the air. I think that was replaced. I forget who or what replaced it. But anyway, it's interesting that like sketch comedy, broadcast, like when they first started seeing those digital shorts, you know, on SNL, that was like their first time like dipping into it. The one critique, wag of my finger, not the tip of my hat, that I'm going to send at speaking of late night, that I'm going to send at SNL though is they have their own like app that they encourage you to go to. The video player on that, oh my gosh, guys, please put a little extra work into that. Like it works sometimes. So
growing pains.
Yeah, so think about it. Yeah, growing pains. Oh my gosh, what a supersized episode of the weekly upload. But that's why you come to this show, because you want the straight dirt, unfiltered. Kevin, is there anything else that happened to you this week, or anything that you wanted to touch on that like kind of struck you in video? Anything we haven't talked about?
Just seeing where a lot of these, just trying to study and research some more trends. So we're definitely going to have a big long talk about new trends and things that are happening in YouTube.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, I still want to get at least a couple of those things out pretty soon.
Yeah,
talking about like different trends. We recorded a big segment of last week's episode that was about YouTube thumbnails. It's more tip related, so just keep tuning in to the YouTube channel, to the Facebook, and sharing it around, letting people know that we're here. And we're going to figure out this live streaming thing one more time. And I hopefully by next week, everything will be all hunky-dory. But anyway, thanks again for joining us. If you want to follow me, well, first of all, follow Bent Pixels on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. But if you want to follow me personally, I'm at CraveSam. And our last thing about following the top 50 was from Joe LaCastro, who gave us the suggestion for it. Hi, Joe. Thank you for your continued involvement. So we also take suggestions, all right? We'll play the hits, all right? So help us out with our playlist. So you can find me at CraveSam for that. Kevin, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at KT Fright or KTF Fright, however you want to call it.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for joining us, and this weekly upload has been downloaded. See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.